All have storms in our lives that cleanse, clear, and convert the aftermath into a rainbow. If you have the right attitude, you can grow and weather the storm. Let's talk about it now over Lunch with Stormy.
Good afternoon and welcome to Lunch with Stormy. I'm so excited about today's guest, but I'll start with this. We have both been COVID tested, so while we're not social distancing and we're not in masks, we completely prepared for today. This is Dan Nevins. He's a wonderful friend of mine and found himself in Utah during this time, and we thought we would record live. So I've known Dan for probably 12 years, do you think? And I met him when I was at Overstock.com through the Wounded Warrior Project. Dan is a veteran. He's an award-winning veteran. He can tell you his own story of what brought him here and his injuries and all of the things. But what I can tell you about Dan is he needs a Dos Equis. He's one of the most interesting men in the world. We've traveled to Peru together. We've traveled a few places together, I feel like, but he's climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. He's visited the White House. I think you've golfed with one of the presidents. Is that true? He's doing all kinds of stuff. But without further ado, welcome, Dan Nevins. So, Dan, we no longer have headsets.
I know, you like that?
Yeah, I like that. We kind of did a wardrobe change.
It happens.
I'm so happy you're here. I'm happy to be with a human.
Right? I mean,
Yes.
That's been crazy I slept in my own bed 89 days in 2019.
What?
Yeah, there's been traveling. And then this year was like longer than that consecutively in my own home, which is great. But it's also, I'm feeling like this isn't what my life is supposed to be like. There's a lot of sort of rubbing up against some anxiety, some.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, has it given you anxiety? Because I used to travel a lot too. Mm-hmm. Not as much as you, but I would have like a part-time apartment in LA or Denver, wherever.
Right.
So I was only here a portion of the time, but I get anxiety. I've had anxiety from it. I think I've worked through it a little bit.
Yeah, I do. It comes up, but like, fortunately, I have all these tools as a yoga teacher to like recognize when I have anxiety and then let it go and just come back to a place of being grounded and centered. So I'm fortunate, but yeah, it definitely comes up. I'm like, I'm not working. Wait, what's happening? How am I paying the bills? Like, what's right? Exactly. Right.
I can't wait for the rest of the afternoon where you show me all those tools.
Here's
ready. Some more tools.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's super interesting that you are a yoga teacher, and I want to get there. But what people can't see from this angle is Dan is a double amputee below the knee.
That's right.
Both legs. And it's part of what makes you an interesting person, but definitely what gives you a unique story. So you joined the Army, right? Where were you born?
I did. I born and raised in Baltimore in the ghetto. If you've ever seen The Wire, it's a lot like that. So I joined the Army to to escape my upbringing. You know, my family was great, but it wasn't the modern family sort of like fun-loving sitcom family.
Disneyland every year.
It was not, none of that. Yeah, right. It was a little bit of struggle. Grew up very poor, and the Gulf War was about to start. So it was the American flags were coming out for the first time. This is leading in 1991. And there was this renewed sense of patriotism that I never really experienced before. My dad served during Vietnam, so he had nothing really pleasant to say about his time in the service. And then so when, it was never a conversation like, oh, the military is a good option. It was never that. So I got to discover and see those first people being deployed for Operation Desert Shield. And I saw these warriors wearing the uniform and our American flag on their shoulder come together. And it was like they were having this experience of a different kind of family. And I saw that and I was like, I want that. And I can leave here and I can do something good for the world. At least that's the way it was being portrayed. And so I raced down to the recruiter's office, enlisted into the delayed entry program. Then I really had a heart palpitations. I wasn't the best student, you know, my mom left when I was like 13. So my dad did his best to raise my brother and I. And, you know, I wasn't the best student as a result of that. No one was making me do homework. I did my 11th grade year twice. I was like, I don't know how I made it to my senior year. But when I joined, I thought I was just going to go leave. And then the recruiter was like, no, you have to graduate high school. So in order to graduate high school on time to be able to serve and go fight in the Gulf War, I had to do 3 nights a week of night school and Saturday morning school and all my classes of day school to get enough credits to graduate.
You wanted it.
I did. It was the first goal I ever had.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And what year was that? 92?
91.
91. And then you didn't go to combat until, and were you a Army or Marine?
I was Army. Army. But we'll get to the Marine part of it. There's a Marine tie-in. There's a Marine tie-in there. You have a really good memory. But see, so I'm in the middle of my high school senior year. In February, the war starts, Desert Storm. It was over in March. So by the time I left for basic training in June, the war was over. So I did 8 years peacetime. So 4 years in Germany, 4 years at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Fort Bragg is the best place in the world to be a soldier, by the way. Worst place in the world to be a single dude. Right? 18 guys to every sort of eligible female in that area. So if there's any single ladies listening, just go to Fort Bragg. Right?
I'm listening.
Got it. Let's go to Fort Bragg. They all look really good too, physically fit. You know,
hopefully a little older.
I mean, right. Yes, you have your pick of the litter if you were to go. But I loved it. But then, you know, nobody joins the Army to get rich.
Yeah.
And growing up poor, that's all you want to do is make money. And so I got out to go to college, be the first person in my family to graduate college, and stayed in the National Guard that whole time. So I was in the Maryland National Guard for a little bit because I went home after I got off active duty. And then I quickly realized, like, whoa, some of my friends are living in their parents' basements still. This isn't what I need or want. So I packed up everything and moved to California.
The best.
Yeah, and I went to school out there at Sonoma State University. And that was a whole...
You had a daughter, though, at this time?
Yeah, I had an amazing daughter from a not so amazing marriage while I was in the military. I got married way too young. Don't do it, folks. I was 20.
I also did it.
I know, right? But you live and learn. So,
well, you get the kid and it's like worth it. It's all supposed to be
100% worth it.
So
yeah, everything. That's what I found out in my life. All these ups and downs, it's always worth it. I mean, I got sort of fast forward in the story. Stay in the National Guard 1 week in a month. 9/11 happens. There's talk of war. We go to war. I'm in the California Guard. I'm like, we're not going to go to war.
At least I'm not.
At least I'm not with these people.
Right.
And then, because the California Guard at that time, for me, so 2001 with 9/11, and then 2003 is when we got the very end of 2003 when we realized we were going to get deployed. We weren't at a state of readiness that was ready to go fight a war. So it was a huge learning curve to get deployed, which I ultimately did for Operation Iraqi Freedom 2 in the very beginning of 2004. And we learned some really hard lessons.
When did our troops hit in? They hit in 2003?
The invasion was 2003.
Okay.
But there were things happening before
that.
But that was, the real war fighters, the highly trained special operations folks were doing those things.
My nephew went down and did water.
Oh yeah,
water treatment.
Water purification, water treatment is one of the most significant, important roles in the military. People don't think of that. People think that they look at the military or people in uniform. They think,
they just land
and they just fight
works.
Wars. No, it's a whole systematized.
It's like a Sim City. They have to go in and create the city.
Everything from infrastructure, roads, drainage, sewer. I mean, it's like we can go anywhere as the most professional, most amazing military in the world and set up real civilization in a matter of days.
It's amazing.
It is incredible.
So you get out there in 2004.
Mm-hmm. Learned some really hard lessons. We wound up in a unit called Task Force Tacoma. It was a new creation, and we were reporting to 1st Infantry Division. So these people that I never thought we'd go to war at all. Now here we are fighting this war. We're untrained, unprepared, and we're the ones kicking in doors and chasing down the bad guys. And we lost people. And it was terrifying, right? To know that we weren't as ready as we could have been. But there's something really amazing about goals. I talked about my first goal was to graduate high school, but there's something really amazing about goals. And when the consequence of not meeting your goals, normally it's like I missed a deadline, asked for an extension, or I don't get that dream thing that I wanted, and there's disappointment. But in this context, the consequence of not meeting your goal, in this case, the goal being at least an efficient combat unit, the consequence is that your best friends die.
Right.
And then so that amount of that gravity of goals like that is that the human transformation potential in that situation is outstanding. And I watched this group of, I affectionately called the Beverly Hillbillies, because when we rolled into combat, like for real, we had old ancient weapons, and like our uniforms didn't match. We had the desert camouflage uniform with the woodland green camouflage vest and helmet. It didn't look like the most professional army in the world. Our Humvees were still painted green, and we had no roofs or doors, and we had literal from Lowe's plywood as the roof of our Humvee and sandbags in the floor. And that's just what we had. Come a long way.
People think of the investment in the military.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I watched this group of Beverly Hillbillies become one of the most amazing combat fighting forces that I've ever had the privilege of serving with, let alone having the opportunity to lead. And that was incredible to be a part of. And these men are my best friends in the world.
Still today.
Yeah. And we don't.
Your second best friends.
Second best friends in the world. These are my, affectionately, don't take this the wrong way, my hide the body friends. Right? If there's ever a body that needs to be hidden, I call these people, they would show up. They wouldn't ask any questions. They would show up and we'd get it done.
And they'd hide the body.
And they would hide the body. Exactly.
Let's hope everyone in your town is safe after that statement.
Right, exactly.
I'm really hopeful.
I'm really hopeful.
Everyone you love is safe.
I'm a very well-adjusted human being.
Yes,
it's just a metaphor. It's a metaphor. Right?
Yeah, we all have those.
Exactly.
Some of us call us get us out of jail friends.
Yeah, whatever.
But,
right?
Once
exactly.
you've served, it's the hide the body people.
Exactly.
They're my buddies.
Yes.
So is that did you only do one tour? You did two?
I did one. Yeah.
You did one.
Yeah. Well, I almost did one. Because it was 9 months into that deployment. It was November 10th, 2004.
I always remember.
Which is the Marine Corps birthday.
That's right. And my dog's birthday.
Oh, there you go.
Little Tucker.
Tucker.
Yeah, when they told me his birthday, I was like, oh, that's Dan's alive day. That's a sign.
And so I remember that day. I remember everything about the day. We were doing a 72-hour dismounted counterinsurgency operation, and I was going to be the non-commissioned officer in charge of this dismounted patrol. And it should have been my boss, Sergeant First Class Mike Annalini. It's actually who I wear this bracelet for every day. And all about Mike. And he was my platoon sergeant, but he is fighting through a protruding abdominal hernia for months until we found out about it. And we said, Mike, you got to get that fixed. And he got his surgery scheduled for November 10th. And then when this intelligence came down, because it was during the Battle of Fallujah, and I wasn't in Fallujah, I was in a place called Balad, Iraq, but there was ongoing assaults all throughout the theater. And then so we got intelligence that some of the insurgency Fallujah was coming to our area of operations, and that's why we developed this mission. But by that time, Mike was already out of commission and about to have surgery. And then so I was leading this operation, but Mike chose to drive the vehicle that morning. He was the guy that couldn't put his people in harm's way without him being at least present. And so the idea was he was going to go be part of the first platoon. I was in third platoon. He was going to be part of the first platoon mission to drop us off, and he was just going to drive back.
If he hadn't been there that day, who would have driven?
Probably Smitty. I don't know who it would have been actually, because we were rotating drivers, because it would have been either one of my guys or it would have been somebody from first platoon. So, yeah.
Could have been many.
It could have been any number of people who wouldn't be able to go home to their family, their wife, or
so crazy
children. And we were headed out, not even a kilometer outside the base, and we hit an IED. And it was 4:00 in the morning, pitch black outside. And then I just remember I was in a prayer, like I pray before every mission, my direct relationship to the source, and just my head was bowed in prayer, eyes closed, and boom. The silence was destroyed by the blast that sent my 18,000-pound vehicle about 6 feet in the air in a ball of fire. And then I just remember I might have been knocked out for a couple seconds, but I was laying in the dirt with my legs still caught in the vehicle that was now on fire. And I noticed that Mike had made the ultimate sacrifice. It was painfully obvious. And then I just realized, listening to my team move with tactical proficiency, doing everything they're supposed to do. And then I'm realizing I'm hurt pretty bad, but I didn't really know. The helmet was broken 2 pieces. And as I'm checking myself out, I just felt the unmistakable arterial blood spurt of my heart, and I knew I was going to die.
From where?
From my femoral artery was cut in half,
Here.
so it was shrapnel cut straight through my thigh on both sides. Had like an inch of flesh on the top and bottom of my thigh, and my bone holding my leg together. And I just reached and thought I was going to be like MacGyver and like pinch off the artery. Like, I got it. No, it just wasn't like that.
Hand me your belt.
Right, you're like, I got this.
It'll be
like,
fine.
Like some John Wayne movie. It just didn't go down like that. And I just remember kind of giving up, losing what seemed like all of my blood in this miserable place. And then, they say your life flashes before your eyes. That wasn't my experience. I was more like watching a slideshow of things I'd left undone. And I couldn't even name them until the last one I remember. It was I had one daughter at the time, Carissa, and she was 10. But I saw her like vividly, all grown up, dressed in white head to toe, and walking down the aisle without her dad. And I just said, Dan, I'm alive. I have to do something to keep it that way. So that's when I reached in and just pressed against that artery. And
you just grabbed the actual artery.
Yeah, well, more like that's what I intended to do. It wound up more like take a fist, press it against the part closer to my heart against the piece of shrapnel that was still stuck in there in my femur, and just pressed in so hard that it would just hopefully slow the bleeding down enough. And then it's like I blinked my eyes and there was Dan Smee, that medic, this hair coming out of his helmet, just lying to me. He said, Sergeant Nevins, you're going to be all right. And then it's like I blinked again. I had a tourniquet on my leg, then an IV. And then I blinked again, and my whole team, like my family, was there putting themselves in harm's way to remove my legs from that vehicle that was still on fire. And then I just remember I was on a stretcher and then in a helicopter, and then straight into surgery in the hospital tent right in a place in Balad. And I remember, hours and hours of surgery, I'm sure, but I don't remember it.
In a tent.
In a tent.
Right.
A very nice tent. A very nice hospital tent. But it's a tent.
Sterile, right.
It's a tent. And I woke up, and there was this combat nurse's face right in mine. And I'll never know her name, but I'll never forget her face or what she said. She said, Sergeant Nevins, you're a very lucky man. We managed to repair your femoral artery. We had to take your left leg below the knee. We managed to save your right one for now, but you'll probably lose that one too. She was right. And just when the pity party started to set in, like, what can a guy with no legs do? Right? Like, I was a competitive runner. It's like running was what brought my wife and I together. It was like, how was she still going to love me? Like, would she still love me? And my daughter, like, I used to throw her on my shoulders and play hard like dads do with their kids. Like, how was that going to happen? And then it's like I looked to the side, and there was my whole team just waiting for me to wake up.
How long was that? Do you know?
That was until I noticed them?
Well, from the time that the accident happened till your surgery and your team is there with you.
I don't know. Because I'm sure my surgery was many hours. That's dead time to me. But from the time we left the gates on that mission to the time I was back at the hospital was probably 10 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. Because we were less than a kilometer outside the base when I got hit. And then and now I just wake up, and then I'm going through all those things in my head for maybe 4 or 5 seconds, but it seems like an eternity when you're thinking of it all so fast. And then I saw my team. So it was really in like my time, it's about 10, 11 minutes from the time I left until the time I'm realized one leg's gone, I'm going to lose the other, and my life is over. It's like a 10, 11 minute time frame.
That's intense.
But then all my team, they just came over and that shrugged off the pity party. We told horribly inappropriate jokes, as we do. And we talked about Mike, told some stories, shed some tears. I fell asleep and woke up the next morning in Landstuhl, 7 days at Landstuhl Regional Medical Center.
Where's that?
It's in Germany, Landstuhl Regional Medical Center in Germany. It's like the heartbeat of all the wounded from all the theaters, whether it's in North Africa or whether it's Iraq, Afghanistan. All the wounded go there, get triaged, either go back, heal, go back, or go back to the stateside hospitals. So I was there for 7 days because the Battle of Fallujah was going on and the hospital was full of Marines from Fallujah. And most of them worse off than me. Most of them 18, 19 years old.
How old were you?
31.
31.
And I'm just, that experience at Landstuhl before getting to Walter Reed was it weighed the heaviest on my heart, because in the hospital, people didn't make it. And you hear all the codes and everything happening. It's pretty.
You're not in individual rooms.
No, it's pretty chaotic. And by the time I got to Walter Reed, I was in an individual room in Walter Reed. I had my welcome to Walter Reed surgery. It was the most painful experience of my life. You meet your surgical team and get a surgical plan, like what's going to happen. Here's what it's going to be like. And I woke up the next morning on Ward 57 in my own room, because while my leg was gone and one was being saved, I had Pseudomonas, Acinetobacter, and MRSA, what people call MRSA, these three deadly infections in my blood, tissue, and bones at the same time. I'm so lucky to still be here. So lucky. And so in all of that, 2 years at the hospital, go back to work. And then, I kept my leg originally, and then 3 years later had it taken off, which was the right thing to do. Yeah. And then life went back to normal.
The new normal.
Yeah.
So you're in Walter Reed.
Mm-hmm.
Dan and I met through the Wounded Warrior Project,
Mm-hmm.
which with Overstock, I was looking for an organization that everyone could identify within our company, that really did walk their walk and give most of the money that was given to the organization
Mm-hmm.
to whatever its cause was. We had looked at quite a few, been through a lot. We get to the Wounded Warrior Project. I'm not even sure how we found you. A girl named Emily was doing all the Google searches.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. And we read that they give 84 cents of every dollar at the time back to the soldiers, their cause, the warriors. And that's a really good percentage.
Mm-hmm.
You can't find those percentages.
Yeah.
It's unheard of that amount. So 16 cents goes to overhead and fundraising at the time.
Right.
I think it's still holding
It's
pretty
very close
yeah.
to that. Yeah.
Still really close, but tons more dollars go through the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And so I reach out to the Wounded Warrior Project and I say, look, we're looking to support you guys. And it felt so new. There were just a couple guys.
Yep.
There wasn't any corporate sponsors.
Right.
I think we were the first.
Yep.
And we invite you guys out. And
so much fun.
That's when Dan and I first connected, and I've just loved him ever since. But you came in to our board of directors, I think
That's right. I do. And I got to share some of my story so that they can get on the same page of why this is important for Overstock. And I have to tell you, it's important for Wounded Warrior Project too. So the organization was growing at that time, and I was working in the organization. Tell them what they
did for you, Walter Reed.
Oh my God. I owe everything, really, to Wounded Warrior Project. I've done so many other things outside of them.
Action. I see what they do for these veterans. It's amazing.
So I was talking about Walter Reed and that first sort of day. And I was in the first moment, I was angry. I was mad at Mike. Like, why did he have to drive? Like, he shouldn't have been there. So now why is one of my mentors gone? And then it was, why did he drive? Why this? Why that? Why me? Why him? And then I fell asleep in that sort of state of mind. And I woke up just angry and wishing I wasn't there. Like I was also mad at Mike because I thought he got the better deal. I was in excruciating pain, and physically and emotionally. Is my marriage going to work now? How am I going to be a dad? I was a pharmaceutical sales rep, so I was deployed after 8 years active duty. I went into the National Guard, so my job, I just bought a house, all these things. How am I going to be able to provide for my family now with no legs? How am I going to walk up and down hospital steps? Because I had no idea what it was going to be like. And then, so I'm in this state of funk. And my nurse, Erica, who at this point was the only human being I trusted because she had pain medicine.
Push the button, Erica.
she said, hey, there's somebody here I think you should meet. And then in walks two of the founders of Wounded Warrior Project. And they had a backpack with the logo of one warrior carrying another on it. Something that most of us have seen at least at some point today. But back then, I never heard of it, never heard of Wounded Warrior Project, didn't know who these people were. And it was the logo of one warrior carrying another off the battlefield and that fireman's carry. And I instantly identified because I was just the guy on the top of that logo being carried off the battlefield. Like that was just me. And then Wounded Warrior, I must be a Wounded Warrior. Okay, that's got some alliteration in there. It makes some sense. Like, oh, cool.
Self-branding.
And in that bag, we'd all take for granted what was inside. Shorts, a t-shirt, calling cards. Remember calling cards?
Barely.
Young people. So calling cards, long distance used to be expensive, and people who cared about you, wanted you to call them, sent you prepaid cards. Anyway,
so crazy.
CD players, CDs. So it's been a while.
CD players,
right?
They sit on your hip.
Discman. And notes from grateful Americans all over the country saying thank you for your service and sacrifice. And there were also socks in there. I didn't really need those, but they were in there.
You needed one.
You needed one. But yeah, so it was literally the most significant gift I've ever received. And then along with that backpack was a promise that whatever I needed or whatever my family needed, they'd be there. And that's exactly what they did. And what's great about that is they spoke it into existence. They had no money then. They had like $0. The founders were living off their retirement.
They were paying for everything in that backpack.
Yeah.
I remember
literally
that.
Maxed out their personal credit cards to build out these backpacks and living off their retirement because they couldn't work at their jobs anymore because they were so passionate about being of service to this new generation of warfighter and their families. And they just made it happen. And so I'm so inspired that 15, almost 16 years later, that the organization went from, 3 guys trying to figure it out at Walter Reed with some of the most seriously wounded to serving over 180,000 warriors and their families every day. It's absolutely incredible.
It's incredible because they do it and they just do it. There's no reason you don't, you qualify for having served. You don't have to prove yourself that you're entitled to whatever it is they do, but what they do. So when we started with you guys, we started stuffing backpacks. We were like, just send us all your things and we'll have our staff stuff the backpacks.
That's right.
And started, I think we were trying to get different t-shirts and stuff in there to get people to donate through our partner network. And we started putting the logo on every box. Yes.
And I think all of that is great, but I think you guys started a trend because I hadn't seen it before then where you can add $1 to check.
That's right. That was one of my ideas.
And that is such a powerful tool. I think one of the best tools in fundraising, and people do this for Wounded Warrior Project, and I'm sure they do it for a lot of other organizations too. It's the best where you want to round up. So it's just change. Your bill is $19.20. Round it up to $20. No problem. And those things people tend to say yes to, and that equals real money that can make a huge difference in the world.
$1,000 a day. Yeah. We put $1 up and 1,000 people would just click that dollar almost every day, no matter what the day.
Yeah.
Sometimes somebody give a little more, but it was always $1,000 a day. We could count on that for you guys for quite a few years. And then what the Wounded Warrior Project does, and Dan speaks for them all the time. You're one of their best. But there are many.
Yes.
There's many best. It's incredible. Yeah. These are the most inspiring people you'll ever meet. They laugh from a different place in their gut. They're fearless because fear's, that's been beaten out of them literally. Whether.
What are you going to do? Blow my legs off?
Going to take my sight, burn me, There's a lot. There's many, many injuries, but everybody's treated the same. And I went on a few different excursions.
Events, I guess,
events.
is a good
There's
word.
a place up here in Utah where the National Ability Center, where
Yes.
warriors will come and we would volunteer there, and they can do hockey and almost limbless hockey.
Yeah,
like
sled hockey.
All kinds of stuff.
But there's so many adaptive sports out there. It's really powerful. I literally just left an adaptive archery event up in Snow Basin.
Give them the plug. What is it? Is this on your thing?
Oh,
Rifle Coffee.
Black Rifle Coffee Company.
Black Rifle Coffee supports your wounded warriors.
They do. They just they did it outside of a charity. So they just paid for it because they're a very military-driven company. Like all of the founders are military. They're humor. Like if you want to have it depends on your sense of humor. If you want to have a really good laugh, just look at Black Rifle Company's social media. It's like insane hilarious, but it's not for everybody. Some people would think that's offensive, but the military
gets to be
mindset. It's the most hilarious thing you've ever seen. And they just spent their own money just to create this adaptive archery event for people that have physical differences, right? So amputees, back injuries, spine injuries, wheelchairs, all of it, and made it accessible because the founders, being military, they found their own sort of peace and meditative qualities of archery. And they said, wow, we have to share this with our people. And they just did it.
That's what brought you to Utah.
And that's what brought me to Utah.
That's right. That's why we're here.
Exactly.
I think what people should be assured of when they see the Wounded Warrior Project, or maybe consider donating or anything like that, is I have seen firsthand how the money is spent, and it's the best. Absolutely. There's excursions. You can imagine coming back, having these types of injuries, or any type of injury, or no injury, the injuries invisible wounds. And then having to leave your environment of war and then go back into society and not display all that might be going on in your head, the anxiety that you face. And that first entry out
it's crucial. And I'm so grateful that they met me at my hospital bedside. And then from then it was adaptive sports, snowboarding, wakeboarding, rock climbing, and golfing. Yeah.
What is it when you're on the horse? Clipping?
Cutting horses. Yeah, I show cutting horses, which is
Dan is an award-winning horse cutter.
World champion.
Are you a world champion?
I compete in a charity event that doesn't have money or anything. But the year we compete at the Futurity, which is the World Championships. So my belt buckle that you win,
and it's big.
World champion.
It's a big buckle.
Just saying. It's a total exaggeration to say world champion, but
no, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. And it's really fun to say that you're a world champion in something. But yeah, we don't have to talk about how it's just the special event that's over here and not the big one. It's so great.
Well, even this Super Bowl, right? Or the World Series in baseball. It's not the world, it's just the United States. But there's no other series. So it's like, I'm a world champion.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so great.
Wow, I almost undersold it.
I know, right?
I had to get my facts straight. That's not taking away.
But I'm so grateful for all of those experiences. But and you might know this now, knowing me now, but for a decade, I faked it. I was physically, I could play golf and I was a single digit handicap in golf, and sort of I sort of adapted things pretty easily, so I can.
We met in 2008.
2008.
You were wounded in 2005. 4.
November of 2004.
So I knew you for 6 year faking years.
Yeah.
I figured you were faking.
Yeah, it was. I was being myself, but there was all of the invisible wounds that were You
also had a brain injury.
Yeah, I still do. Yeah, traumatic brain injury. Which is getting better. It's the brain is a beautiful thing. It will heal itself. It tries to find ways to heal itself all the time. But then, so for this decade, when I say faking it, I mean, I wasn't letting anyone in on all that was going on in my life. No, I'm fine. Yeah, I wasn't fine, but I'm fine. How are you? I'm amazing. fake it till you make it. You know,
Right.
no, I'm amazing. And really, I was falling. My marriage was exploding. I wasn't performing as well as I wanted to at work and with friendships and like all of it. And then it took having another surgery number 36 in my right leg. And my daughter, my 10-year-old Carissa, was now grown up. She was 18 and joined the army herself.
You had another daughter?
I had another daughter, Carly, who was 3 at this time when I was having surgery number 36. And I came home from that surgery to recover to an empty house. And I had to take that Family Medical Leave Act. So I couldn't lead my team. I couldn't respond to email. I couldn't call anyone that was on my team. And my team at work was my whole family.
Was the Wounded Warrior Project.
Was the Wounded Warrior Project. But they were all my people. They were my friends, my people. That's all I did was work. That was my universe. Because I was around these amazing people who could be doing anything they want, making tons of money.
That's right.
The best and the brightest choosing to work for this organization that was making a difference. And so these were amazing people I got to be around, and I couldn't call them. My oldest daughter was grown up and gone. I couldn't take care of a 3-year-old because I just gotten divorced, hopping up and down steps on one prosthetic leg and crutches. So I was alone, and things were falling apart in my head. And I was grateful that I've always had coping tools for the invisible wounds of war, but they were always there. But I knew I could go play golf, I could ride a bike, I can climb a mountain, I can go do something.
Right.
But when that was gone, because physically I couldn't do those, I couldn't sleep at night. And then when I did get to sleep, I'd wake up with nightmares. And then when I couldn't get back to sleep, I'd take a handful of Benadryl and chase it down with whiskey, and hoping I would.
That works.
It does work.
You would hope you didn't wake up?
Well, I wasn't suicidal, but I was anything but this. Anything but this. So
we knew each other then.
Yeah.
I remember when you were
went through
getting divorced.
this.
Yes.
And then I remember this was 2014. 13, 14. And so I just had the last surgery, and then I was literally falling apart. And I called a friend of mine who was a yoga teacher, and I told her everything. I was like, there were tears and snot.
2014? That doesn't feel that long ago.
No, it was 2013. It was 7 years ago. So 2013. It could have been, 2013. And then so in that sort of meltdown period, I called a friend, told her everything. She said, Dan, you need some yoga in your life. And I said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. I was so mad. I was like, yoga.
Like, I know, just some yoga, just stretch.
No. And then she was like, and I was a hard no, like for real. And then she said, what about meditation? And I thought I had tried meditation before and failed at it. And I did try it, but what I was doing wasn't meditation. I had a different idea of what meditation was. And then she taught me that it's all about being present. And then I started meditating, and things just got better. And then when I got all the way better, so 8 weeks had happened, there was the light at the end of the tunnel. I got my leg back. I can go back to work. I made the mistake of calling her to say thank you. And she said, you owe me some yoga. And then that opened. I turned a miserable experience of yoga into one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had when I took my legs off in front of somebody that has, like, there was a lot of shame in losing your leg for me, because it was my best feature, now shriveled up, atrophied, scarred. And then, but in doing that and sort of embracing that shame, it allowed me to have this experience of connection with the earth for the first time in a decade. And it's like the earth was saying, Dan, where have you been for the last 10 years? And it like woke something up inside of me. It was so powerful, because when I took my legs off and got on that yoga mat, I've never felt smaller in my life. But in that moment, when I had this surge of energy come up through my body, like this, like waking up, I never felt more powerful in my entire life. And then I was like, wow, on a freaking yoga mat. Great. And
what color was the mat?
Blue. I still have it.
You do?
Yeah, it's like navy blue. And then by my third lesson, so I did 3 private lessons. By my third one, I enrolled in teacher training. And then now I'm a yoga teacher.
I remember that.
Yes,
I remember the enrollment.
You're like, you're doing what?
What
I love yoga.
And I was like,
I'm like, let's not talk about it. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to talk about it yet.
Don't tell anybody.
It's a secret. I'm a closet yoga person.
And it was Baptiste yoga.
It's Baptiste yoga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you're a master.
Well, that's a tough word. I've
Don't
finished
they use it?
all of Some people would say master.
No, I would.
No,
I'm one of
not
the
about
some.
me. Like there's some lineages that would use that word. So Baron Baptiste himself wouldn't call himself a master. He'd say he's a student. So I'm a student of yoga, and I have finished all of the course curriculum work inside of Baptiste yoga and other forms of yoga. I have about 2,000 hours of yoga teacher training.
Right, which taken. How many do you need to be a master?
You need no, there's not. I don't know.
You can be
7.
A master.
I'm an
yoga
extra
teacher.
Double master.
Well, part of it, like, and folks will see pictures on the video of your legs, but like you're one of a kind.
Allegedly, as far as I know, and people have told me this, but it's not like I'm keeping track. I'm the only bilateral amputee yoga teacher on the planet.
Well.
Which makes some sense.
Which makes one of a kind. Yeah, it's kind of easy. It took you, it was really long to get there.
Yeah.
You know, other people may land at just simply cutting.
Yeah.
Right.
Or golfing. And I love it all. Like, it's the thing. It's like the more I get to do an experience, the more I want to do an experience in life. And that's, and I've drug you on some of my adventures. I'm like, come on, you got to do this thing.
That's right. We went to Peru.
We did go to Peru.
We went to Peru and had an amazing time with a shaman. We spent 2 weeks stumbling around in this high altitude that almost killed me. I think you did a good job. Well, when we realized it was altitude,
right?
But I was having a hard time putting the spoon to my mouth. I was like, why am I so weak? I was so weak.
Yeah, chewing the cocoa leaves.
Yeah, chew the cocoa leaves. That was exactly it. It changed everything.
And it was, you know, it was meditation and yoga that sort of woke me up. But it was our time in Peru where I really got to have a real visceral experience that I am a spiritual being having a human experience. Like that was a really powerful time for me, because it was like I had all these from meditation, like these sort of thoughts and ideas of like connecting to maybe what some people call your higher self.
Yeah.
And like realizing that there's a part of me that exists outside of trauma, outside of stress, outside of to-do lists, outside of, and it's just this loving, giving, powerful core, but you see like glimpses of it.
Right.
But then being able to have an experience and realize that, no, that's actually what I am. And all the other things, it's just what's happening right now.
So that was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Couple months, 2 years and a couple months.
Right.
I say, when I think of this, our time in Peru, I always say to you, it changed my DNA. I had the hardest time coming back because our plant medicine week-long experience with professionals that helped guide us through why each individual person was there. You know, it felt so individual.
It's so private. Oh yeah, absolutely.
It felt so individual, yet so holistic with everyone. Like every single person that was there needed to be there in my mind when I reflect back on it. But it changed my DNA.
Yeah.
That is the way. And I think I'm still learning from it today.
Yeah, I absolutely still am. And I'm still learning from it's that experience. And I guess along with everything. So like we're all a collection of our experiences up to this moment.
Yeah.
And it's so great to be present in this moment and realize it's like, it's created, all of it has created a listening for how the world is acting around me and who's in reaction and who's responding.
Right.
Sort of like people that live their life and they're like, everything's falling apart, my hair's on fire. It's because they haven't taken time to like say, what do I really want? And let me take this time to create that life, instead of just there's reaction everywhere. This person did this. Oh, this person is the bane of my existence. No, you're allowing that person to be the bane of your existence.
Not that people don't get caught up. Like
totally. Even myself. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know better.
Right.
It still happens, but my sort of superpower now is, it's a real superpower, folks. No,
has many.
It really is recognizing it. And that's the thing. It's like, I am totally reacting right now to this situation. And I have, because of history and seeing it unfold different ways, I know this isn't going to work out well for me. I just know it. So I stop.
Well, I think that that's so important during this time, during the pandemic time, during our stay-at-home time, because that happens. What I was noticing that I did was I'd feel all these things. And then when I'd stop, I'd be like, it's just me. Like, I'm just sitting here. I really don't know what other people are doing or thinking, and pulled back a lot on our, you know, our lessons there. And
yeah, we create this whole sort of fictional, well, this is what's happening over there that I don't know about. And you create this fictional life as no, and you might be exactly right.
It could actually,
be exactly right. And you don't know. So you can't make decisions based on but people do it all the time, myself included.
Right. We're only human, no matter how spiritual we get or how much we meditate. You get mad, you get jealous, you get frustrated and depressed.
And this is the thing is, I'm sure I've been in reaction to things that I'm not aware of. And so like, I'm totally speaking out of both sides of my mouth.
It's okay.
And no, but it's
yeah. And we have to.
That's what's missing, I think, in the sort of spiritual personal development space is authenticity. People are like, no, I come to me because I've got it all figured out. And if you do it like this, I'm like, yeah.
Still human.
Yeah.
Still like being human.
Still love it.
Still want the hard laugh and can appreciate the hard cry.
We're supposed to be doing this.
Yes.
Yeah. And supposed to be feeling and having reaction, but not staying stuck in it.
That's a hard one.
Right? That's a hard one. And then so it's the recognizing. That's the superpower, is like realizing when you're being in reaction to something or at the mercy of something. And then you see it. So then you know that here's a chance for me to make a choice. Do I still want to let this happen, or do I want to do something different? And sometimes the choice is, I'm going to let it happen. And sometimes the choice is, this isn't going to go well. I need to stop it right now. And then pick myself up, shift focus, and go that way.
But you don't take Benadryl and have a drink anymore.
I don't.
Right.
No, I barely drink at all anymore.
Yeah.
It's like so not worth it. I still enjoy
at our age. The next day, if you kept for 48 hours,
what's the point?
half a bottle of wine will be like 36 hours in bed.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh God, why did I do that?
So without going to Peru and the ayahuasca, was, you know, did you think prior to that, like, I'm at peace, I'm doing great, I feel good, or were you like, there's one more step or another step at this time? Because when I think back on that, you know, we met people who have done ayahuasca or the plant medicine 20 times,
right,
in a couple years,
right?
Yes. And for me, it was, I feel like a one and done. Like, I feel like my experience was super powerful. There'll still be moments of processing. But that's how I feel. Have you had any callings to go back, or do you feel like the lesson was there?
I feel like, okay, so I'm not saying, oh, I'd never go do it again. But at this moment, I feel pretty complete. Yeah. Like, and you know the story, like the second ceremony for me was like the most magical thing. Really. And when people say, wow, it's like a drug. And I'm like, no, it's nothing like a drug. There's nothing about it. It is access to spirituality and the divine experience.
And it is, for me, I prepared, 90 days, cleansing, vegan, meditation, all of the things, every piece. I went to the nth degree to go in clear and prepare for that. Because it is an experience of, they've been doing it for thousands of years there. It's a ritual of passing or moving on.
And they share it. And not just like, hey, we're going to go do this. It's a very sanctified space. It's a very holy, and it's very much a cultural, spiritual gift that they're sharing with it in the best possible ways. And you had asked a question, and I want to answer it because it's pretty important. You're like, oh, without the ayahuasca, did you feel like you were good? Once I found meditation and then yoga, it's like, yeah, I was like, this is good. But it's always an evolution. It's like, I feel, wow, this is a really great space. And then I continue to meditate and practice. And it's like, whoa, I learned something else. Now this is a great space. And now I'm just curious about how far does the rabbit hole go as far as peace and being able to love people first, just period, love all people first. Yeah, and if they stab you in the back or whatever, okay, then
get mad, protect yourself, protect your soul, create boundaries,
right? And then honor their experience, because I don't know why they're being so deviant or whatever. I don't know what their experience. I don't know what it's like to be that person who just offended me.
Yeah.
And then so it's like forgiveness comes a lot quicker.
The best part of being on Earth is 6 billion different personalities, backgrounds, stories, inspirations, desires, you know, it's over and over again.
It's like we're all living out a different version of the same experience of being a human being. How did you grow up? What type of means did you have? What was your environment like? And it's like we're all just doing the best we can in the context of how we were brought into this world. And the collective of that is this beautiful, and no one disagrees. I mean, maybe there's some sociopaths out there and ultra narcissists or something, but
there's a couple.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Some notable ones. But it's like the experience of love is the good. It's like the thing that we're all after. People fight wars for love. They shouldn't, but they do. They love something so much, and maybe it's misplaced. But
I think that, you know, the pandemic, being at home, if that doesn't assist us through world peace, acceptance, understanding that many religions, there's room for many.
Yeah.
There's room for so much comfort for people. Just us finally having one, you know, outside of birth and death, one common experience, which has been this pandemic.
Right.
Where 6 billion people get to go. How many are on the earth right now?
I think it's over 7.
Close, right? It's over 7.
Yeah.
Oh, been a couple years.
Close to 8. And people just keep making their own babies.
Yes, we just keep on going. Okay, I got to update my speech. 7+ billion people, same time, same moment, same experience, same adjustments. If that can't bring us closer, I don't know what will. Like, I don't want people to go to war anymore.
Me either.
I want to be protected.
Right.
As an American, I understand all of that. I don't want to do it.
Right.
I just want to figure out a way. There's only 7 continents. Can we get along?
Can't we all just get along?
Yeah, there was a wise man that said that.
Rodney King. Why can't we all just get along?
Yeah.
And it's so fun. It's not funny. It's like when I look at this pandemic, and I've seen some sort of a buzz around it on social media and things. Calling it the Great Awakening.
Yes.
And it really is. I think it's an opportunity because the world is so flat now. Not a flat earth guy. The world is so flat now in terms of technology and communication, is that we're so up to speed with what's happening everywhere, a lot better than we've ever been able to.
Right. So
then we're able to see other people having this human experience of pandemic, and then realize the disparity among and like with our friend Elvis.
Right. We met a guy in Peru, Elvis J. Art, I think, on Instagram.
Artist. He was a street artist.
He approached us. I bought the sexy llama painting from Elvis.
I bought a lot of them.
He bought like 7.
Make no mistake. He was a street artist, hustler. And he's hustling at all the tourists to buy. In the best way, though, with a pure heart. He was so great. He's trying to provide for his family. Yes. And his post was so beautiful. He said, we follow him on Instagram now, and he made a post. And there was this older man wearing a mask that was just completely, it was holes in it, like your worn jeans. Very worn out, like holy jeans. And the caption was, let me see if I can remember. It was like, we're not all in the same boat. Because that's what people say. Oh, we're all in the same boat here in COVID. Because we're all in the same sea. Some of us are in yachts. Some are in boats. Some are in life jackets. And some are swimming for their lives. And it was like, you're exactly right. Yeah, Elvis has some wisdom. Elvis. Exactly. Yeah, he's kept us together. Well, those are all the reasons why you are one of, well, I think you could be a world champion for
the most interesting man in the world. It's like a Forrest Gump thing. You know, we could go on and on.
There's so much more. And I'm just lucky. I'm lucky to have great friends, like the one and only Stormy Simon, the men that I served with, the women that I served with. Now, when I was in combat, it was all guys. So I don't want to make that
right. Of course not.
Right. The people that I have in my lives, my 3 daughters now, including my 3-year-old and my 3-year-old granddaughter. I don't know how I got to be that guy.
You're that guy.
I'm that guy.
He is that guy. He just loves having these daughters over decades. Right. Every decade.
I gotta have a new one.
Gotta get a new daughter.
But I'm just blessed and grateful for the experience of this crazy life that included a whole lot of pain, and it included even more joy. So thank you for just getting to sit down and talk,
right?
And being willing to meet in this time. But like, again, to y'all, like, we were like, are you okay? Let's get tested. Like, it was,
we got tested.
And I'm grateful that we went through all those hoops to be able to sit down.
I needed the hugs. There was no way Dan Nevins was coming to Utah and I was going to be like, hey, I'll Zoom call you.
Right.
No, we went through the hoops. It was worth it. Where can people find you?
DanNevins.com is probably the best way, or Dan Nevins on Instagram, Facebook,
everywhere. Worth the follow.
That's my profile picture. Is like,
hi.
Hi,
I'm Jan. If anybody out there is interested in the Wounded Warrior Project, maybe having, life is different with COVID, but having an event in your town, a fundraiser, acknowledging the warriors amongst you. At Overstock, the things we did were when we had an amusement park day, we would reach out to find warriors and their families to come, a concert, any type of work that can be done. Some of these guys are on disabilities with injuries, but they can do some stuff. We had folks on calls or on chat with customer service. And so when you wonder what you can do, think smaller. You can actually do a lot with very little, and maybe just in line with what your life is currently doing today.
Yeah, like a backyard fundraiser, lemonade stand. I remember one story. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I just remember the one story. It was very early days of Wounded Warrior Project, and it's like I'm getting misty. Oh, even thinking about it. This girl came into the headquarters with a big jar of change, and there was dollars stuffed in it. And she was like, for my birthday, I had everyone do this fundraiser for me, and I was saving up for a bike. We were going to do it was like selling lemonade. They made brownies, they did all this stuff. And she goes, and then I just really wanted to give this to you. And so it's like that little gesture of this. I mean, she was probably 7, came in and like gave up her first bike to come give this to Wounded Warrior Project. And then these little mom and pop little fundraiser people doing backyard fundraisers, they equal a lot of money as the world, participates in these things. And that money makes a real difference.
It matters. When we say 80 to 84 cents going to the warriors, that dollar matters.
Absolutely.
It could help build a ramp. It can get education. It can get the prosthetics. There's so many amazing stories. We'll probably have you back. Or maybe we'll get some warriors back.
Yeah.
We get some guys, some of the guys.
In here.
Yes, it would be amazing. And we met so many through you in the project. But you can trust it, you can love it. And I promise, and if you are a warrior that needs a group, please call the Wounded Warrior Project. They probably have someone in your area.
Oh, absolutely.
They'll send someone to help you.
People in offices around the country, and the resource center. So 877-TEAM-WWP, you call there. They'll be able to answer your questions, get you information on programs. And even if you might not need something that Wounded Warrior Project does, Wounded Warrior Project has the resources to connect you to the organizations that do it. That's the thing about what I love most about Wounded Warrior Project is they're not like, oh, I'm the answer to everything, stay over here.
Right.
It's like, you are the one that's important. We do these things. If you need something else, we'll help you get that too.
Yeah, but they'll never leave you hanging.
Never
Leave you hanging. Do that. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating because we're amazing.
Yes.
Well, you are.
No, you are.
No, you.
And please reach out, help a warrior, make sure everybody's okay during COVID, and 1-877-TEAM-WWP.
That's it.
If you're a warrior, make the call. Don't be alone. We love you a lot. Thank you, Dan Nevins.
Thank you.
Go get your Dos Equis. Howdy.